The longest-serving governor in Texas history, Rick Perry, appears focused on 2016, recently revamping his image, trading in his cowboy boots for a pair of stylish glasses, all to help erase memories of an embarrassing 2012 presidential run.
I can't. The third one I can't. Sorry. Oops.
But that reinvention faces a new obstacle, with Perry blasting his indictment as outrageous and a farce.
This is not the way that we settle differences, political differences in this country. You don't do it with indictments. We settle our political differences at the ballot box.
In light of what has transpired recently in the fine state of Texas, there are those suggesting that upon driving past their border, the sign needs to read, "Welcome to the American Banana Republic." That is the first shot being taken by the high-powered legal team now in place to defend Governor Rick Perry in his fight against the grand jury indictment on 2 felony counts of abusing his power. It won't be the last, and this could be just the ticket Perry is looking for to give his presidential chance a much-needed boost if he wins. Welcome into MidPoint, Democratic political consultant Jessica Tarlov, and also let's welcome from the grid, the editor-in-chief, Bryan Preston joins us today. Thanks so much for joining us, both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right, Jessica, the arena's open for business. Let's get to you first of all. Even Democrats are saying, come on, this is ridiculous. What's going on here? You don't need to do this. This is a waste of time. Agree?
I do agree, unfortunately, for my own party. But it's a waste of time. Both parties are doing this to each other. We had impeachment talk a little while ago. Now we have this. I mean, people are saying criminalization of politics, the over-politicization of politics. But really, I think that the damage is that now suddenly Rick Perry looks like a sympathetic figure. No one's thinking anymore about what he did on the border just a few weeks ago, a situation I think he handled terribly. And so now he looks as if he could coast into at least the 2016 race. I don't think he's ever going to win, and I don't think that realistically that's possible. But it's certainly giving him some fire.
Jessica, I think I just heard something that I don't think I would ever hear. I don't think anybody thought they would hear. You actually just paid Rick Perry a compliment.
I did. I feel a little guilty. I feel bad. But other Democrats are doing it, so why not get on board?
So why then? I mean, that's the big question here. This does seem to be nothing more than really down dirty politics. There's no reason for it whatsoever. Why then, in your opinion, would anybody even take the risk at this point of trying to make Rick Perry look good?
I mean, I think that they're at big...
Sorry, no, it's okay. Jessica, it's to you. I'll be right to you, Bryan. Go ahead, Jessica.
I think that at the end of the day, we still need to be fair and objective. Journalists, I think that they've become completely partisan and politicized to a level that I'm not comfortable with. But when something is so ridiculous, you can't help but stand up for the truth. I mean, as Jonathan Chait said in New York Magazine, I'm no fan of Rick Perry. I'm no fan of Rick Perry. Democrats aren't a fan of Rick Perry. I think that he's dangerous, but that doesn't mean that he's a criminal. All
right, now, Bryan, here we go. We'll come to you. First of all, I guess you got to comment on the fact that Rick Perry is dangerous.
Yeah, frankly, I think that's over the top, and it's a symptom of how, I think, kind of ridiculous our politics get at times. I mean, the fact is Rick Perry's been governor for 14 years. If he was going to be dangerous, he would have done something by now to make himself dangerous. He has an exemplary record as the governor of Texas. If it weren't for the Texas job creation record, the U.S. would be in a net hole on jobs in the last several years. He has a good record. Is he a perfect governor? Is he a perfect man? Of course not. Those things don't exist. But this indictment of him, this criminalization of politics, that's what's dangerous. And I'm glad to hear Jessica denouncing that. She joins the New York Times. She joins the Austin American-Statesman today. Unfortunately, the Texas Democrats haven't gotten that message, and they are pursuing this full speed ahead because they're trying to scramble the politics in this state. They can't win at the ballot box, so they're trying to win in the court of law, and that's just not the way we do things here in the state of Texas or in the United States.
Do the people in Texas and Bryan just see this as nothing more than a last chance, last gasp? There's nothing further for the Democrats in Texas whatsoever to pick on, so they've got to go ahead and find something, even if it's just this little sliver somewhere that they can slice at.
Well, I think most Texans do see it that way. Unfortunately, the Texans in the Democratic Party in Austin don't see it that way, and I think that's why this indictment, as frivolous and flimsy as it is a real threat to Governor Perry. Because the trial, if it happens at this point, would happen in Travis County. He can't get a fair trial there. It's far too democratic, and I've been monitoring social media in the county over the last few days, and I got to tell you, people in Travis County are full bore behind this. They want it to happen. They want to see him go to jail, not because he's done anything wrong or illegal, but because they don't like him and they don't like his policies.
Jessica, I got to ask you to dig in a little bit on your comment about him being dangerous, because that certainly does bring a couple of things that comes along with it. Look, he's brought out the National Guard. He's trying to protect his borders. You could say that the governor is doing everything that the people of Texas want him to do. So what makes him so dangerous?
Well, I mean, that's one side of the story, that just securing the border is all that it's about. I mean, there are thousands upon thousands of children who have made this dangerous journey from Central America, and they need somewhere to go. They need to be heard. They need advocates. They need to see a judge. They need to be maybe eventually placed with their families. And he sees no need for that. He was central in the criticism of Obama about his policy towards the border, even though Obama was willing to meet the GOP halfway on it. And, you know, he backed the paltry $694 million GOP bill that they, got in there 10 seconds before they went on recess, which basically does nothing. So putting some National Guard troops on the border, I don't think solves anything or makes him necessarily, good on immigration. And I think, looking ahead, I don't really want to see Rick Perry up there again in 2016. We've seen Christie standing behind him, Jindal, Ted Cruz, a lot of the people that we plan on seeing in 2016. And I think that he detracts from a healthy political national conversation, quite frankly. Maybe people in Texas like him, but the rest of the country isn't going to like him. And I think that it's sad that now we're paying attention to some indictment instead of looking at real policy issues.
All right, I do want to talk about this further, but I want to bring out that CNN is now reporting within the last moment or so that Rick Perry will turn himself in on this charge. That is coming from CNN, the only one reporting it at this time. So let's at least say that the governor is willing to go through this procedure. He is willing to take whatever it is that comes his way. So, Bryan, I got to believe that he is turning himself in or not. High-powered lawyers, he's completely confident that this will not only be something that will go away eventually, but it's something that will help him actually when it comes down to 2016. Do you believe he's that confident, that it's that certain?
Well, I think he's turning himself in because he has to. And the reason the Democrats indicted him, first and foremost, is to get this mugshot that they're going to get out of this process. The Texas Democratic Party hasn't won anything statewide since 1994. Rick Perry, they have dismissed as a lightweight, as an idiot, as dangerous, as we've just heard, and yet he has beaten them like a drum time and time and time and time again. So they're trying to get him on his way out and scramble the race for governor between Greg Abbott and Wendy Davis. This mugshot that they will get from him turning himself in is key to this strategy. I don't think it's going to work, but I do think the legal jeopardy to him is quite real. That's why he has the powerful legal team behind him that he's assembled. He knows Austin as well as anyone. He's lived there for 14 years.
So, Jessica, then what should the Democrats be doing? I mean, obviously, there are others who probably think he's dangerous, as you do as well. So instead of going after something like this, which could be nothing more than a smokescreen, could go away. Of course, there is the mugshot. That will live forever in social media now. It'll be brought up probably until the last day that he is alive. But what should the Democrats be doing at this point if they really want to do something substantive to go up against Rick Perry? Where is he the most vulnerable?
Well, I think that the conversation has to shift more towards what we're talking about right now, which is looking at his record, not only in terms of Texas, but what it would mean for the country. And those are the things that you should be fundraising on. I'm sure that we're about to see a slew of emails coming from both sides saying Rick Perry's being indicted, support the cause, go against the cause. And I mean, those emails, I'm not looking forward to getting them, and I would prefer if they were focused actually on, his accomplishments and his failures, and then we could look at really who the person is and not something like this. And also, there's been almost no focus on how much this is going to cost the people of Texas. He's hired this dream team of lawyers out of D.C., and some of that is going to come from public funds. I think it's a big problem.
Isn't the bigger problem here that the Democrats, you mentioned this earlier, but I think we need to point this out, about a minute or so left, you're just making him a sympathetic figure. You're only going to help him.
Well, I think that you have a responsibility to be honest and truthful about what's going on, and that's how they feel. It doesn't make David Axelrod happy to say that this is sketchy. It doesn't make Alan Dershowitz happy to say that this is ridiculous. But at the end of the day, you're not going to lie for politics purposes. It's not responsible, and that's not the way the Democrats do things.
Bryan, about 30 seconds we have left here. Do you think this can be beneficial to the governor?
In the short term, yeah, in the long term too, because it has rallied a lot of folks, including Ted Cruz and Bobby Jindal and some others around him. But the jeopardy is real. The fact is, Democrats in Texas do operate this way. They use funds from George Soros through the Texans for Public Justice to start this stupid indictment. This is how they operate because they can't win on the issues in the state of Texas, and they haven't in 20 years. This is their only hope.
Well, Jessica, I appreciate you coming on board and certainly having to unfortunately admit that the Democrats have done something wrong. Trust me, each side does something wrong. We'll always be talking about it here, and you certainly will be part of the conversation. Bryan, Preston as well, thanks so much for joining us, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, think about it that way. Actually having to admit some things here. We'll have more on the governor and turning himself in here as the hour goes on. Later on this hour, the National Guard is in Ferguson, Missouri, but is it really making any difference? And is anyone listening? And also coming up right here after the break, when not to use a baseball bat when twerking. Your ticket to Outland is punched. You can join the ride right here on MidPoint.